actually did something during his presidency. He actually kept a campaign promise of canceling student loans. Well, sort of, but he still did it. All right. At the beginning of campaign, he promised to cancel all student loans. However, as time went by, the promise became $10,000 in student loans for all. The final announcement was made yesterday, and yes, he's canceling $10,000 in student loans for those making less than $125,000 a year. Look, many of you have mixed feelings on this. There's no doubt. Yesterday, I posted on Facebook asking for opinions on this, and so far I have over 185 comments with opinions on this topic. Most of them are actually negative. Most people, and I'm sure the people watching this, believe this is completely unfair. Well, of course it's unfair. Here's the reasons it's unfair, and many of them are listed in the responses of the post. Many of you said, basically, it comes down to, hey, what about me? Look, it reminds me of the 2008 bailout when people were wearing buttons that said, "Where's my bailout?" I wouldn't be surprised if some of you still have these buttons in a junk drawer somewhere. So what is it, and what about you, and where is your bailout? Well, it's pretty sneaky because, if you're like me and my wife, Linda, who literally just paid off the student loans for Linda's daughter about 4 months ago, we would have got this for free. The balance was actually less than $10,000, and if I just would have waited a few more months, we could have kept this money. Or what about the people who didn't go to college because they thought, they couldn't afford it, and they knew this if they knew this 10,000 grant was going to be given to them, maybe they could have gone to college. This is pretty unfair, right? Or what about all the other responsible people who paid off their loans on time and aren't getting a thing? It's so unfair. Look, how will it also affect inflation is another issue. All these people will no longer have student loans and will now buy stuff, and that will make inflation go up. Of course, there's the statement that I keep hearing as well. This isn't forgiveness, it's the transfer of those loans on the backs of all the taxpayers. Why should we pay for your loan? You borrowed the money, pay it back. All right. You guys are all crybabies. I want to give you the details of the program and how it works, and then I want to address all of these prior statements. And the other question, of course, the tax implications of both the forgiveness of the loan and you as the taxpayer may have. All right, from the government website. By the way, I like to go to the government website. You can actually find the official statements of the White House on topics like this. I realize they are written in the most positive manner, and they're typically propaganda, and they're written for the most positive matter for the standing president, but if you filter through the propaganda, you'll often find the facts. So I read through the latest statement, as I always do. As you guys know, that's what I do. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that I have all the facts before I start saying stupid stuff. Now I can say stupid stuff that the White House backed me on. All right, so I read through the latest statement on loan forgiveness, and here are some of the important facts, straight from the statement. Department of Education will provide up to $20,000 in debt cancellation to Pell Grant recipients with loans held by the Department of Education and $10,000 in debt cancellation to non-Pell Grant recipients. Borrowers are eligible for this relief, if their individual income is less than $125,000 or $250,000 for married couples. And then it goes on, it says, no high-income individual or high-income household in the top 5% of incomes will benefit from this action. All right, so it basically means that most people will receive $10,000 in debt cancellation, so a student loan debt cancellation. By the way, there's no word on how it's going to work yet. It's a credit to it may be a credit to your loan of $10,000, or it may be a payment from the government. I don't know. Either way, if you owe less than $10,000, your loan will be cleared. So the people owing over $10,000 will probably have some kind of credit. But next part of this section, and I don't know if you guys caught this, was a $20,000 credit to those who received the Pell Grant. So let me explain what the Pell Grant is and how the $20,000 is different than the $10,000 and why this is probably the most unfair part of the deal. So if you guys think this $10,000 is unfair, let me tell you how unfair this $20,000 is. So first of all, a Pell Grant is issued to low-income individuals and households, and it's used for higher education. You must apply for the Pell Grant before you enter school, and the government pays up to $6,895 this year towards tuition, and you can get that for up to 6 years. This is clearly a benefit to low-income people seeking ways to pay for college. Look, it's fine. I mean, I think it's great. I think the amount may even be low, but that's a different issue. So you received a Pell Grant for your college, and you still needed a loan, and now you're eligible for a $20,000 loan forgiveness. To me, again, this is the most unfair part of the benefit. It does not take into consideration the current income or financial state of the individual at the time of forgiveness. You could be making $124,000 now, and because 5 years ago you got a Pell Grant, you get $10,000 more forgiveness than the guy making $40,000 a year who didn't get the Pell Grant. But let's go on. Many of you commented about the tax implication of the loan forgiveness. In most cases, when a loan is forgiven or reduced, there are tax implications and the amount can be taxed to the individual who receives the forgiveness. This was a problem, I don't know if you guys remember, in 2008 Great Recession, many sold their houses in short sales and had loans that were greatly reduced or forgiven, and eventually a temporary forgiveness of this tax was applied to the tax law to make sure that people didn't owe massive taxes on the loan forgiveness. It actually made some sense. Think about it, right? Someone sells their house in a short sale, and just to get an IRS tax bill of what could have been $25,000 or more in some cases, that would have been like rubbing salt in the wounds. So now we have the government forgiving $10,000 or $20,000. So what will be the tax implications to the borrower? Well, guess what was passed recently? There's something called the American Rescue Act Plan of 2021, and that made student loan forgiveness tax-free through 2025. And of course, the law will cover this Biden forgiveness. So, by the way, that was also in the statement from the White House. So the rumor of the tax implications is not true. There will be no tax paid on this forgiveness. I also want to address another part of the bill, which is, or executive order, or whatever the heck this is, because I actually don't even know what this is. I don't know if it's a bill, I don't know if it's executive order, I have no idea. But the Department of Education is proposing a new income-driven repayment plan that protects more low-income borrowers from making any payments and caps monthly payments for undergraduate loans at 5% of a borrower's discretionary income. So this is an interesting part of the plan. I don't know how many people know about this. This is kind of a crazy thing. I've come across it when I've been coaching people before, but this is basically how it works. So it used to be that after a calculations of someone's discretionary income, and basically this would be the income after housing, food, and other necessities, the minimum payment of a student loan would be no more than 10% of this discretionary income number. So Biden is changing that to 5%. So basically it would help people with their budget. However, it makes the loan go into perpetuity. No one will ever pay back their student loan. The payment will probably not even keep up with the interest. So the loan will never be paid off until, of course, the borrower dies. So now that you have the facts, stop whining about it. If you were a business owner, you probably received a bunch of money from the government last year in what was called the Payroll Protection Plan. Some small businesses received well over $100,000 from the government and was all forgiven and no payments were made by the borrower. At the time, I didn't hear you all whining about the money that was given out. Student loans are the biggest ripoff and the most predatory loan ever created. Personally, I wish the whole student loan system would be eliminated. If it happened, college tuitions would drop probably even in half because the colleges would no longer have the government to give them money that the student of the college will have to pay back for the rest of their life. I used to call it a tax on smart people, and then I realized that the average college graduate isn't all that smart, so now I just call it a tax on college students. Some of these borrowers even dropped out of college and still have the loan to pay back. For all of you who are worried about your tax dollars going to this program, why do you really care? It isn't like you're getting a bill to pay the loan. You aren't. You're not going to get a bill. The government is going to tax you anyway. My suggestion is learn tax laws and pay as little tax as possible. That's what I do. And be happy for your neighbor or friend who just got his loan paid off or loan reduced. It's a good thing for them. By the way, the rules and applications for forgiveness will be up on the government website in about a month. And the moratorium, by the way, for payments of student loans have been extended to the end of the year. So they haven't had to pay their student loan for 2.5 years anyway.